Hey everyone. Sorry I'm a little late. Well, I'm actually on time, but Zoom was not starting up. Let's see. All right, Andrew, you're up.
Thanks. So just wanted to follow up on our discussion last week. So I've created an epic for GitLab private, and the goal here is to capture problem validation as well as opportunity size for this offering, as well as laying out the product definition. So I would like to propose that we use this the issues here to drive discussion on aspects of the offering, like availability SLAs and release cadence.
Okay.
Yeah. Hey, Andrew, thanks for using GitLab. And I think this is great that you made an issue. I couldn't find a link from the epic to the doc, nor a link from the doc to the epic. Is it an oversight, or is it? Do you think the doc's not helpful, or what's behind that?
Yeah, I can add a link to the doc. I think the doc was more sort of at a high level around our sort of expectations from the infrastructure side. The point of the epic and the issues was to get into more of the details there, but I'm happy to cross-link the two.
Yeah, I think that'd be helpful. For example, like someone might read this epic and be tasked with something, and it's helpful for them to know the bigger story. And also, if someone's in the doc and they want more detail, they see what's going on, they can go to the epic.
Sure, I'll add that.
Maybe, oh, there's no shadows this week. I'll post that in the CEO channel. See, someone takes me up on it. Thanks.
So I just had a follow-up question. We've never specifically said that, and I know GitLab private has been widely discussed in this working group, but I just want to make sure that it is we want to make it an official item out of the exit criteria, or is it a separate thing and we just happen, is this a convenient place to talk about it?
So was that for me?
In general, I mean, I know you brought it up, but my impression when you first brought it up was, hey, this is happening. And I got a couple of questions whether this was the right working group. I'm fine making the update to the exit criteria if you think so.
Yeah, we should probably call this the GitLab private working group.
Is this so I wonder, I mean, is the purpose, in my mind, the purpose of this working group was to basically enable these other projects that are going on. GitLab private is one of them. Our ability to have GitLab sites in other geos, down the road as we maybe would have one in Europe or wherever it is, doesn't matter where. And then also enabling things like the technology, the underlying technology for things like FedRAMP or whatever, versus having any one of those be specific exit criteria. Is that not where we want to be headed any longer?
Just to clarify why I brought it up, the outcome of the working group is essentially cloud native, but GitLab private is a slightly different thing. So I just want to make sure we don't dilute the former, and I'm fine either way. I just want to make sure that we're tracking the right things and we're not like polluting things.
Yeah, I guess just looking at what the scope is right now, I think what we had started out with is something a little bit more general, but in this way, like enabling not only GitLab private, but these other things. And so I think the preference would be that we would we would stick with enabling these types of things rather than having GitLab private be the specific exit criteria. But if we do need to change the path here, it's good for you to bring it up and we can change it. So. I mean, just so do you feel strongly about changing the exit criteria, or is it just it's just kind of input on it?
The first step would be seeing how the two relate.
Yeah, I mean, I totally think it's related, and like the updates in here so that we're keeping these various projects in mind absolutely makes sense. But I think the idea was that we would focus on the underlying problems we needed to solve, the challenges that we needed to go through in order to support all of these different efforts.
I'm okay with that. Thanks.
Does that help answer your question, Jerry?
Yeah, it does.
Okay, cool.
Thank you. Josh.
Oh, I just had a real quick one, just see if we can try and draw a conclusion on the tooling and the provider. I think we've discussed this a couple times here. I think there's an issue in the Epic there, but it'd be good to just confirm one with the other, you know, if AWS or GCP, and then also whether we want to have, in the context of private, would be Prospect One on an omnibus or charts, given their timelines, and then we can figure out. You know, so that's my comment here, but I think that on the point on Steve brought up is a good one, so we can figure out where the right place to provide updates on GitLab Private is if it's not here.
So is there an issue in the Epic to clear up those two items?
Yeah, so I think that we can hopefully just start to ping folks and have a final confirmation of where we want to go there. Would be good. But I think the broader question really is, sounds like we probably don't want to have the details of GitLab Private here. Is that the conclusion from the previous conversation?
Yeah, I think the idea is that GitLab Private. I mean, there's I mean, just a huge set of items that that is its own project, and part of that is being enabled by this multi-large working group. But there's so many things with GitLab Private that, I mean, it is its own project, and the same thing would go for FedRAMP, for another geo that we do. Not that we're doing that right now, but the idea here is to do those underlying things that enable all of those projects to happen.
Okay, so let's figure out. We can probably take an async. Another collaboration vehicle if you want to have one of these things for GitLab Private. Let's do that.
Okay. Jason?
I want to let everybody know that when it comes to GitLab pages, we will have the documentation for running that external to Kubernetes very soon. It's being reviewed right now. Barlow also implemented a dedicated role in the omnibus so that it's actually much easier to perform this behavior. I'll dig up the issue for that in a minute. The basic functionality of the GitLab pages chart is also coming soon. We're still working on a few items in regards to how that will work, and authentication through OAuth, some things that need to be done there. If there's nothing else, then we'll go on to what's happening next. With further discussion, as raised this morning, distribution is looking to implement a extended set of generic labels that can be done to add these labels to all the objects produced as a part of our chart, and to further assist with logging and metrics and tracking of the actual deployments. We're scheduling this into 13.8. This will probably replace an existing item that's marked as a P2 for production, because it better clarifies what the needs actually are. After that, I wanted to let everybody know that the unified structured logging on the CNG containers, we're going to go ahead and scale that back just a touch. We ran into a couple of issues as production tried everything out. So we're going to instead start with a single set of containers that affect the web service pod, which is where primarily our traffic comes from. And then we're going to go ahead and make that actually a flag so it can be turned on and off as production workloads get tested. Once we have a better understanding of what's going forward and we make the necessary changes to the GitLab logger process, then we'll go ahead and start implementing this suite-wide. Okay, then I also want to let everybody know that we are scheduling in parts of the additions to the reference architectures in terms of installation steps. We're doing this as part of 13.8. We're going to start with 10K and 50K, and then we will circle back to the more average customer sizes. Camille?
Yeah, so more like FOI, we actually very close to merge the migration code. For the pages, it took slightly longer because it's something that we were concerned with the security aspect of that, but it's coming along. But I recall Garing's sentence from one of the recent meetings that we're gonna have the production lockdown on doing any changes. So I don't anticipate us executing this migration code this year, only in January. So it will be merged, but it will be waiting till the January to be executed.
Yeah, this date I would prefer if we don't start anything until January, as we're heading into the holidays. So we're not in a hurry for this amount of time. So I would vote to start in January. All right. I just had a question about the specific epics or issues tracking the migration on GitLab.com. So thank you, Christopher and Camille, for the information. And then Sid, you have a bunch of items.
Yeah, and it's only sideway, only partially related to this group. And it's I can move it to the product scaling group if needed. Julia, what do you think?
I think it's probably better, given that we've expanded the scope of this working group already. So unless it's something that the folks in this meeting need to provide, I would probably move it to that other meeting.
Cool. I'll move it. Thanks.
Thank you. All right. There are no additional items. So thank you, everyone. See you next week.